Imagine being mocked as a crippled child, unable to walk, forced into exile, shunned by your own people. Now imagine returning not only to claim your place in history, but to build one of the greatest and wealthiest empires the world has ever seen. This is the story of Sundiata Keita, the legendary founder of the Mali Empire. His journey from weakness to power, from exile to glory, is one of the most inspiring tales of resilience in all of history. Stay tuned, because by the end of this video, you'll see how a disabled child became a king of kings, how he defeated a sorcerer tyrant, and how his legacy paved the way for Mansa Musa, the richest man in history.
Sundiata Keita was born around 1217 CE in Dakar, a small but important town in modern-day Mali. His father, King Nare Magan Konate, ruled as part of the Mandinka people, a proud and diverse community spread across West Africa. His mother, Soumaoro Kanté, was unlike other queens. Legends describe her as hunchbacked, unattractive, and frail. Yet behind her unusual appearance was wisdom, resilience, and strength. But Sundiata's childhood was marked by struggle. He could not walk for the first years of his life. His legs were weak, leaving him dependent on others for the simplest of tasks. His disability became a weapon for his enemies. The king's first wife, Sasuma Berete, mocked him endlessly and used his condition to argue that her son, Dankaran Tuman, was more fit to inherit the throne. When King Nare Magan died, Sasuma seized her chance. She placed Dankaran on the throne and banished Sundiata and his mother into exile. For Sundiata, exile meant both humiliation and opportunity. Wandering from kingdom to kingdom, the young prince experienced hardship but also learned survival. It was during this time that a transformation began. Legends say that one day, frustrated with his weakness, Sundiata pulled himself up using an iron rod and broke it in the process. His legs, once lifeless, suddenly carried him. The child who was once ridiculed now stood tall. In exile, he gained more than the ability to walk. He discovered leadership, courage, and resilience. In Mema, he trained as a warrior, learned statecraft, and built alliances. These years in exile forged Sundiata into something greater than a prince, into the man who would one day return to liberate his people.
While Sundiata grew stronger in exile, Mali fell into darkness. The once proud Mandinka people were crushed under the rule of the Soso kingdom. At its head was King Soumaoro Kanté, a man who inspired both fear and hatred. Soumaoro was no ordinary king. Legends say he wielded mystical powers, could disappear at will, and kept the skulls of his enemies as trophies. To his people, he was a tyrant who demanded total obedience. To outsiders, he was a sorcerer whose strength seemed unbreakable. Hearing of his homeland's suffering, Sundiata could no longer remain in exile. He began gathering support. Chief after chief pledged loyalty, drawn by his charisma and reputation. Among his allies was the great general Tiramahan Traore, a warrior whose skill with the sword was unmatched. Together, they raised an army. Their goal was simple but dangerous: to free Mali from Soumaoro's grip. The confrontation came in 1235 CE at the plains of Kirina. The Mandinka army, though smaller, was united by purpose. The battle raged with ferocity. Shields clashed, arrows rained, and the fate of Mali hung in the balance. According to legend, Soumaoro seemed invincible. Blades could not cut him. Spears bounced off his skin. But Sundiata, drawing on wisdom and strategy, discovered his weakness. Using a poisoned arrow tipped with the spine of a white cock, he struck Soumaoro, breaking the sorcerer's power. Defeated, Soumaoro fled, never to rise again. With his fall, the Soso kingdom crumbled. For the first time in generations, the Mandinka people stood free. And in that moment of triumph, Sundiata was crowned Mansa, the king of kings. The Mali Empire had been born. Victory gave Sundiata power, but it was his vision that turned power into empire. Unlike many conquerors, he understood that swords alone could not build a lasting legacy. Mali needed justice, unity, and prosperity. One of his first acts was to establish the Mandin Charter, a groundbreaking legal code, long before the Magna Carta in Europe. This charter laid out principles of human rights. It prohibited slavery of fellow Mandinka people, promoted justice and protected the vulnerable. For its time, it was revolutionary. Sundiata also built Mali's wealth on trade. His empire controlled some of the richest gold mines in the world, located at Bambouk and Bure. Gold flowed through Mali, exchanged across the Sahara for salt, cloth, and other goods. Caravans carrying slabs of salt trekked across the desert, returning with gold that would make Mali famous from Africa to the Middle East and beyond. But Mali was not just rich, it was tolerant. While Sundiata converted to Islam, he did not impose it. Instead, he allowed people to keep their traditional beliefs. This balance of faiths created harmony, blending African traditions with the wider Islamic world. Militarily, Sundiata expanded Mali's borders. His armies absorbed smaller kingdoms, bringing them under one flag. He even conquered remnants of the fallen Ghana Empire, ensuring Mali's dominance in West Africa. Under his rule, Niani became a bustling capital. Farmers, traders, warriors, and griots all contributed to a society that valued both prosperity and tradition. Sundiata had created not just a kingdom, but a civilization. Sundiata's reign ended around 1255 CE. Stories differ about his death. Some say he drowned crossing a river. Others say he was struck by an accidental arrow. Whatever the cause, his passing left a powerful legacy. His successors inherited an empire that stretched across West Africa. But it was his grandnephew, Mansa Musa, who brought Mali to its peak. Musa's pilgrimage to Mecca became legendary as he distributed so much gold along the way that he disrupted economies for years. Under his rule, Timbuktu became a center of learning, home to scholars, libraries, and one of the oldest universities in the world. But all of this glory rested on the foundation Sundiata laid. Without his vision, his courage, and his unifying leadership, there would be no Mali Empire. His story lived on in the Epic of Sundiata, preserved by griots, West Africa's oral historians. For centuries, they passed down his tale from generation to generation, reminding people that greatness can rise from struggle and that true power comes not from strength alone, but from wisdom and justice. Even in modern times, Sundiata's story echoes. Many believe Disney's The Lion King was inspired by his life, a young prince exiled who returns to claim his rightful throne. The story of Sundiata Keita is more than just history. It's a mirror of the human spirit. From a crippled child, mocked and cast aside, he became the founder of an empire that shaped Africa for centuries. His journey teaches us that adversity is not the end, but the beginning. That leadership is not about cruelty or fear, but about justice, vision, and resilience. And that unity, built on respect for diversity, can transform divided peoples into a thriving civilization. Africa's golden age, represented by Sundiata and the Mali Empire, reminds us that history is not just written in books, but carried in songs, stories, and legacies. So, as you reflect on Sundiata's rise, ask yourself, what challenges in your life can be transformed into strength? What empires, big or small, can you build from your own struggles? Thank you for joining us on this journey into the past. If you enjoyed this story, please like, share, and subscribe. And let us know in the comments, which great figure from history should we explore next? The golden empires may be gone, but their lessons still shine.